The red-tinged dust of Raxus swept across the desolate spaceport, coating everything in a fine layer of crimson. Mara Hendris pulled her protective goggles tighter against her face and squinted at the massive hulk of a ship looming before her. The vessel's once gleaming hull was now pitted and scarred, bearing the marks of 117 years of abandonment. In the year 2415, with the Galactic Consortium's iron grip on technology growing ever tighter, finding abandoned tech like this was both dangerous and potentially life-changing. Mara adjusted the tool belt at her waist, her calloused fingers running over each instrument with practiced familiarity. The orphaned mechanic had spent her life fixing what others considered beyond repair. But this, the legendary passage checks, was different. This wasn't just another job. According to her grandfather's journal, this ship held secrets that could change the course of her life and perhaps humanity itself. "You're not getting cold feet now, are you?" she muttered to herself, a habit formed from years of working alone in distant outposts. Her voice was swallowed by the howling desert wind, carrying away any doubts she might have harbored. The entrance hatch was exactly where the journal had described it would be, hidden beneath a panel that most would mistake for structural plating. Mara's nimble fingers worked at the manual override, a skill few possessed in an age of automated systems. The hatch groaned in protest as decades-old mechanisms struggled to function. Inside, the air was stale but surprisingly breathable. Emergency life support systems, designed to outlast even the most catastrophic failures, had maintained minimal atmospheric conditions. Dust motes danced in the beam of Mara's headlamp as she made her way through corridors that hadn't felt human footsteps in over a century. "Grandfather, you better not have sent me on a wild goose chase," she whispered, pulling out the biometric key, a small device containing genetic material from her lineage that, according to the journal, would grant her access to the ship's core systems. The command bridge was a testament to bygone engineering, complex analog controls intermixed with early quantum interfaces. Most of the displays were dark, but Mara could sense the dormant power beneath. This was a ship built to last, designed by minds that valued longevity over the planned obsolescence of consortium tech. At the central console, Mara found what she was looking for, a small, inconspicuous port. Taking a deep breath, she inserted the biometric key. For a moment, nothing happened, and her heart sank with disappointment. Then, a low hum began to build, vibrating through the deck plates beneath her feet. One by one, systems began to initialize, ancient displays flickering to life with soft blue illumination. "Identity confirmed. Hendris lineage recognized," announced a surprisingly melodious voice from the ship's speaker system. "Computer online. Welcome aboard the passage checks, descendant." Mara couldn't help the smile that spread across her face. "Hello, computer. It's been a while since anyone's been aboard, hasn't it? 117 standard years, 4 months, and 12 days since last human contact." Computer replied, "Though my internal chronometers indicate only 16 years, 3 months, and 7 days of subjective time has passed within my systems." Mara's brow furrowed. "That's not possible." "Temporal anomaly detected and contained within ship's core reactor. Project Janus protocols active but dormant." Computer stated matter-of-factly, as though discussing nothing more unusual than a weather report. Mara's pulse quickened. Temporal anomalies were theoretical in the current scientific literature, or at least in what the consortium allowed to be published. If this ship contained working temporal technology, it would explain why her grandfather's journal had been so cryptic, and why he'd insisted the information be passed down only through the most secure means. "Computer, tell me about Project Lazarus," Mara said, recalling the code name repeated throughout her grandfather's writings. A slight pause, then, "Project Lazarus, classified level Alpha. Biometric confirmation required for full access." Mara placed her palm on the console's reader, wincing slightly as she felt the gentle prick of a needle taking a blood sample. Advanced for its time, but primitive by current standards. Genetic match confirmed. Welcome, Hendris Air. The main view screen flickered, displaying complex molecular structures and data streams that Mara, despite her technical expertise, struggled to fully comprehend. Project Lazarus represents the culmination of 40 years of research into human cellular regeneration and age reversal. Computer explained. The process utilizes specialized nanobots programmed to repair telomere degradation and optimize mitochondrial function at the cellular level. Mara's breath caught in her throat. You're talking about immortality. Negative. Extended longevity with estimated lifespan increase of 300–500 years per treatment. Immortality was deemed unethical by the Hendris research team. Mara sank into the captain's chair, the implications washing over her. No wonder the consortium would want this technology. No wonder it had been hidden away on a supposedly abandoned vessel in the farthest reaches of colonized space. This wasn't just valuable. It was world-changing. Computer, what's the current status of Project Lazarus? One prototype treatment remains viable in Cargo Bay 3. All research data intact, but encrypted. Warning: ship systems operating at 12% efficiency. Critical repairs required before safe departure from Raxus. Mara nodded, her mind already racing through the repairs needed. This was what she was born for. What generations of her family had preserved the knowledge for. She would bring this ship back online, unlock its secrets, and ensure the Lazarus technology didn't fall into the wrong hands. Computer, initiate full diagnostic scan and deploy maintenance nanobots to begin critical repairs, she ordered, slipping into the role of captain with surprising ease. Acknowledged. Estimated time to complete critical repairs, 72 hours with current nanobot capacity. That's too long, Mara muttered. Consortium patrols sweep this quadrant every 60 hours. She began rapidly typing commands into the console. Reroute power from non-essential systems to the nanobot fabricator. We need to accelerate repairs. Warning: such action will temporarily disable life support redundancies. Mara smiled grimly. I didn't survive 28 years as an orphaned mechanic in the outer colonies by playing it safe. Computer, execute command. Acknowledged. Rerouting power. Nanobot production accelerated. New estimated repair time, 47 hours. Better, but still cutting it close. Mara stood, stretching her tired muscles. Show me the engine room. I'll handle the repairs the old-fashioned way, while your little bots do their work. As she made her way through the ship's corridors, Mara couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Not by computer. The AI was primitive by modern standards, powerful, but straightforward, but by something else. The shadow of her ancestors, perhaps, judging whether she was worthy of the legacy they'd preserved for over a century. I won't let you down, she whispered to the empty hallway, her voice firm with determination. Whatever it takes, I'll finish what you started. The engine room was a marvel of engineering, even by modern standards. The central reactor, the heart of the ship, pulsed with a strange, ethereal light that seemed to bend around itself in ways that made Mara's eyes water if she looked directly at it. Computer, what am I looking at? She asked, approaching the reactor cautiously. Quantum fold reactor. Generates energy by creating and harvesting microscopic temporary folds in spacetime. Side effect includes localized temporal distortion, hence the discrepancy between external and internal time passage. Mara whistled appreciatively. No wonder the consortium banned this technology. You could practically live outside of time with a reactor like this. Affirmative. Project Janus was designed to exploit this property for limited temporal navigation. Time travel? Mara's voice rose an octave. Negative. Temporal observation only. The Hendris team determined actual travel through time would create unsustainable paradoxes. Mara shook her head in amazement, then turned her attention to the more immediate tasks. The engine support systems were in disarray, with numerous conduits corroded beyond safe operation. She unclipped her multi-tool and got to work, falling into the familiar rhythm of assessment, disassembly, and repair. Hours passed as Mara worked tirelessly, her body operating on muscle memory while her mind processed the implications of what she'd discovered. If the Lazarus technology could extend human lifespan by centuries, it would upend the social order. The consortium maintained control partly through the natural turnover of generations. New minds could be molded, old rebellious ones would eventually die out. But if people lived for centuries, retaining their memories and convictions, a sudden clang from an adjacent corridor snapped Mara from her thoughts. She froze, listening intently. "Computer," she whispered, "are we alone on this ship?" "Negative. Biological signature detected in cargo bay. 2. Human, male. Approximately 50 standard years of age." Mara's hand moved to the small blaster at her hip, a precaution she never traveled without. "Why didn't you alert me?" "No direct threat detected. Individual appears to be searching the cargo holds methodically." "That's not comforting," Mara muttered, making her way cautiously toward cargo bay 2. She needed to know who else had found the ship and what they wanted. The corridor leading to the cargo bay was dark, the repair nanobots having not yet reached this section. Mara moved silently, years of navigating treacherous scrapyards, making her footsteps nearly inaudible. At the entrance to the bay, she paused, listening to the sounds of someone rummaging through containers. Taking a deep breath, she swung around the corner, blaster raised. "Don't move!" The figure froze, then slowly raised his hands. He was tall, with silver-streaked black hair and expensive-looking clothes that were now covered in dust. Not consortium security. Then, they would have been in uniform. This was something else. "Who are you, and how did you find this ship?" Mara demanded. The man turned slowly, a practiced smile spreading across his face. "Ah, the mysterious mechanic who's been buying up old Hendris patents. I thought I might find you here eventually." His voice was smooth, cultured, with the accent of the inner colonies. "Torren Brell, at your service. Rare technology broker and, if you'll allow it, potential business partner." Mara didn't lower her weapon. "You didn't answer my question. How did you find this ship?" Brell shrugged elegantly. "The same way you did. I imagine, following the breadcrumbs left in old shipping manifests, cross-referencing with anomalous energy readings that the consortium pretends not to notice. I've been tracking the passage checks for years." "What do you want?" "The same thing as you, Ms. Hendris. Access to whatever technology has been hidden here for over a century." He gestured around the cargo bay. "Though I admit, I was expecting something more immediately valuable. Old medical supplies and spare parts aren't exactly what I had in mind." Mara realized with relief that Brell hadn't yet discovered the true nature of Project Lazarus. He was looking for conventional technology, weapons, perhaps, or advanced propulsion systems, things he could sell to the highest bidder. "There's nothing here worth your time," she lied smoothly. "Just family sentimentality. My grandfather worked on this ship, and I wanted to see it before the consortium inevitably discovers and scraps it." Brell's eyes narrowed slightly, his smile never wavering. "Come now, Ms. Hendris. We both know that's not true. The Hendris family was famous for their medical research before the Purge. This ship disappeared just days before your ancestors were arrested for technological heresy. Whatever they were working on, it was valuable enough to hide away for over a century." Mara's grip tightened on her blaster. "And if there was something like that aboard, why would I share it with you?" "Because, my dear, you've managed to activate the ship's systems. Impressive work, by the way. But you'll never get it off this planet without being noticed. I, on the other hand, have the connections to ensure a clean departure and safe passage to wherever you might wish to go. He spread his hands. Plus, the consortium patrols this sector regularly. I'd say you have, what, 2 days before they detect the energy signature? Less, Mara admitted reluctantly. Then we have a mutual interest in cooperation, wouldn't you say? Mara hesitated. She didn't trust Brel. Anyone who dealt in black market technology had questionable ethics at best. But he wasn't wrong about the difficulties of escaping Raxus undetected. And if there was only one viable Lazarus treatment remaining, as Computer had indicated, perhaps it didn't matter if Brel learned of its existence. The real value was in the research data. I need to complete repairs before we can leave, she said, finally, lowering her blaster slightly. And I have conditions. Brel's smile widened. I would expect nothing less from a Hendris. Name them. I maintain full control of the ship. You're a passenger, nothing more. Reasonable, considering your biometric key is what activated the systems. And whatever we find, the research data belongs to me. You can have your pick of the physical technology, but the intellectual property is mine. Brel considered this for a moment, then nodded. Agreed, with one caveat. I reserve the right to license applications of the technology, with appropriate compensation to you as the data owner. It was a standard arrangement in the technology trade, and not an unreasonable one. Mara nodded. Fine, but any agreement is void if you try to seize control of the ship or the data. My dear Ms. Hendris, I am a businessman, not a pirate. Brel's eyes twinkled with amusement. Now, shall we continue repairs? I'm quite handy with advanced systems myself. Mara wasn't ready to trust him with the critical systems, but having an extra pair of hands could speed up the more mundane repairs. You can help with the environmental controls in Section 4. Nothing vital, but it will make our departure more comfortable. As you wish. Brel gave a small, mocking bow. Though I do hope you'll be more forthcoming about what we're really looking for once we're safely away from Raxus. One step at a time. Brel. Mara turned to leave, then paused. And if I catch you anywhere near the command bridge or cargo bay 3, our deal is off, and you'll find out why mechanics from the outer colonies aren't known for their mercy. Brel's laughter followed her down the corridor, but Mara wasn't amused. She'd just invited a snake aboard, and while she needed his help to escape the planet, she had no doubt he would strike the moment it served his interests. Computer, she said, once she was alone. Restrict access to command functions and Cargo Bay 3 to my biometric signature only, and monitor Brel's movements at all times. Acknowledged. Security protocols updated. With that settled, Mara returned to her repairs with renewed urgency. The clock was ticking, and she now had more than just consortium patrols to worry about. The next 36 hours passed in a blur of relentless work. Mara focused on the propulsion and defense systems, leaving the less critical repairs to Brel and the nanobots. Despite her initial misgivings, she had to admit that the broker knew his way around technology. He worked efficiently and without complaint, though she often caught him studying the ship's layout with more interest than was strictly necessary for his assigned tasks. We should be ready for liftoff in approximately 6 hours, Mara announced, wiping grime from her face as she joined Brel in the galley. Just in time to avoid the next patrol sweep. Brel looked up from the ancient food synthesizer he'd somehow coaxed into producing a passable cup of coffee. Excellent work, though I'm curious. Why the rush to repair the weapon systems? Planning on fighting our way out? Mara accepted the cup he offered, taking a cautious sip. Not bad, considering the age of the equipment. I'm planning for all contingencies. The consortium isn't the only danger in this sector. Ah, yes. The mysterious ships that occasionally appear at the edge of colonized space. Brel's expression was casual, but his eyes were sharp. There are rumors they're particularly interested in medical technology, almost as if they're studying us. Mara kept her face neutral, though her mind was racing. If Brell knew about those ships, he was better connected than she'd realized. The consortium officially denied their existence, classifying all such sightings as hallucinations or sensor malfunctions. "I don't put much stock in rumors," she replied evenly. "No? Then perhaps you can explain why you've rerouted power to the long-range sensors." He smiled at her surprise. "Yes, I noticed. Not exactly a priority for a simple escape, is it?" Before Mara could respond, Computer's voice interrupted. "Alert! Unscheduled consortium patrol vessel entering orbit. Estimated time to detection of passage checks, 17 minutes. "Damn it!" Mara slammed her cup down, coffee sloshing over the rim. "They're early. We need to accelerate our timeline." "The engines aren't fully calibrated," Brell pointed out. "All pretense of casualness gone. A rushed launch could—" "I know the risks," Mara cut him off, already heading for the command bridge. "But I'm not letting this ship fall into consortium hands. Not after all this time." On the bridge, Mara took the captain's chair, her fingers flying over the controls. "Computer, divert all available power to engine calibration and weapon systems. Warning: such action will leave hull integrity monitoring systems offline during launch." "Do it anyway," Mara ordered, "and prepare for emergency launch protocol." Brell arrived moments later, taking the navigation station without being asked. "I assume you have a flight plan in mind? The patrol will detect our energy signature the moment we power up the main engines." Mara nodded grimly. "We're going to use Raxus's magnetic pole disruption to mask our signature, then make a burn for the asteroid field in Sector 7. Once there, we can plot a jump to safer territory." "Bold," Brell commented, his fingers already inputting the necessary calculations. "But the timing will need to be perfect. The patrol ship will be on the opposite side of the planet in approximately 11 minutes, giving us a small window to launch and accelerate to the magnetic pole before they can detect us." "Then we'd better not waste time talking," Mara replied, strapping herself into the captain's chair. "Computer, begin launch sequence." The ancient ship groaned and shuddered as dormant systems surged to life. On the view screen, Mara could see the dust of Raxus being blown away from the landing struts as the repulsor engines engaged. "Structural integrity at 79%. Computer announced. Recommendation: abort launch until repairs complete." "Override," Mara commanded. "Continue launch sequence." The passage checks rose unsteadily from the surface, its hull protesting after more than a century of inactivity. Mara's hands gripped the control panel tightly, her eyes fixed on the trajectory Brell had plotted. "Patrol ship still on far side of planet," Brell reported. "We have approximately 8 minutes before they have line of sight." "Initiating main engine burn," Mara responded, pushing the ancient throttle forward. The ship lurched violently, then smoothed out as the engines found their rhythm. "Computer, status of weapon systems?" "Primary defense grid at 62% functionality. Secondary systems offline." "Not ideal, but it would have to do." The passage checks accelerated through Raxus's thin upper atmosphere, the vibrations throughout the hull gradually subsiding as they reached the vacuum of space. 5 minutes until patrol ship has line of sight," Brell updated, his voice tense but controlled. Mara guided the ship toward the planet's magnetic north pole, where the natural radiation would help mask their energy signature. "Once we're in position, we'll need a maximum burn to reach the asteroid field. The patrol will detect us, but they'll have to circle around the planet to pursue. And if they call for reinforcements? Then we'd better hope this old girl remembers how to fight," Mara replied grimly. As they approached the magnetic pole, alarms suddenly blared throughout the bridge. "Proximity alert," Computer announced. "Unidentified vessel detected on intercept course." "That's impossible," Brell exclaimed, checking the sensors. "The patrol is still on the far side of the planet." Mara's blood ran cold as the view screen adjusted to show their pursuer. It wasn't a consortium patrol ship. The vessel approaching them had the sleek, almost organic lines of the mysterious ships that occasionally appeared at the edges of colonized space, the ones officially dismissed as hallucinations. "Computer, analysis of pursuing vessel," Mara demanded, already adjusting their course to maximize the distance between them. "Unknown configuration. No match in database. Energy signature indicates technology significantly advanced beyond current consortium standards." Brell's normally composed expression had given way to naked concern. "Ms. Hendris, I believe this situation has escalated beyond our original agreement." "You're free to take an escape pod," Mara replied without looking at him, her focus entirely on piloting the ship. "Though I doubt you'd get far." "A fair point," Brell conceded. "What's your plan?" Mara's mind raced through options. None of them good. The passage checks was in no condition for a prolonged chase or battle. But whatever was pursuing them seemed keenly interested in the ship, or its contents. "Computer, time to asteroid field at maximum sustainable speed. 12 minutes, 4 seconds. Warning, pursuing vessel will intercept in approximately 9 minutes at current velocity. And the consortium patrol? We'll have line of sight in 3 minutes, 20 seconds. Mara made a split-second decision. "Brell, open a communication channel to the consortium patrol." He looked at her in shock. "You're going to contact them? They'll arrest us on sight." "Just do it," Mara snapped, her fingers never ceasing their dance across the controls. "And make it look like we're trying to mask the signal but failing." Understanding dawned in Brell's eyes as he complied. "Ah, I see. Creating a distraction." "The consortium is terrified of those unknown ships," Mara explained as she plotted a new course. "If they detect one pursuing a vessel in their territory, they'll send everything they have to intercept. And while they're occupied with our mysterious friends, we slip away." Brell finished, a grudging admiration in his voice. "Clever. Assuming the patrol doesn't decide to simply destroy us to eliminate the complication. That's why we're going to make sure they know exactly what this ship might contain," Mara replied. "Computer, prepare a data packet containing non-classified information on Project Lazarus. Nothing substantial. Just enough keywords to make the consortium very interested in capturing, rather than destroying us." "Packet prepared." "Add it to the communication signal. Make it look like we're trying to hide it in the transmission." Brell's eyebrows rose. "Using Project Lazarus as bait? That's a significant risk. Ms. Hendris." "Not as significant as being captured by either party," Mara replied. "The consortium will be too intrigued to destroy us, and too busy dealing with our pursuer to capture us immediately. That gives us time to reach the asteroid field and plot a jump to safer territory." The communication channel crackled to life, and Mara deliberately pitched her voice to sound panicked. "Mayday! Mayday! This is independent vessel requesting emergency assistance. We are being pursued by an unidentified craft with hostile intent." The response was immediate and suspicious. "Unregistered vessel. This is consortium security. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Your presence in restricted space is a violation of—" "We don't have time for this," Mara interrupted, genuine urgency in her voice. "There's an unknown ship on our tail, and it's not responding to hails. Check your sensors." A pause. Then, "Stand by." Mara muted the communication channel. "They've spotted our pursuer. Now for Phase 2. She adjusted their course slightly, bringing them into a trajectory that would pass between the consortium patrol and the mysterious ship. "Computer, prepare to release a concentrated burst of radiation from the quantum fold reactor as we pass the patrol ship. Warning, such action will alert both vessels to our exact position and temporarily destabilize our propulsion systems." "I'm counting on the former," Mara replied grimly. "As for the latter, we'll just have to hold together long enough to reach the asteroids." The view screen showed the consortium patrol ship changing course to intercept the unknown vessel, just as Mara had hoped. But their pursuer was still closing on the passage checks, apparently undeterred by the presence of consortium forces. 3 minutes to intercept point, Brell announced, his voice tight. The unknown vessel is accelerating. They seem very determined to reach us before the consortium can intervene. Computer, what's the status of Cargo Bay 3? Mara asked suddenly. Secure. Prototype treatment remains viable. Good. Prepare to transfer all research data on Project Lazarus to my personal storage device. Mara pulled a small, heavily encrypted data chip from her pocket, standard equipment for any mechanic who might need to transfer sensitive technical specifications. Brell watched her with newfound interest. So, there is something valuable aboard. Valuable enough to attract attention from beyond the consortium's borders. Focus on the navigation, Mara replied sharply. We're not out of this yet. As they approached the intercept point, the consortium patrol ship opened fire on the unknown vessel, which responded with eerily precise counterattacks. Neither seemed particularly interested in the passage checks at the moment, which suited Mara perfectly. Now, computer, release the radiation burst. The ship shuddered as a wave of exotic particles erupted from the quantum fold reactor, washing over both the patrol ship and their mysterious pursuer. Alarms blared on the bridge as the propulsion systems fluctuated wildly. Engine stability at 47%, computer reported. Pursuing vessels temporarily disoriented but intact. Estimated recovery time, 2 minutes, 17 seconds. That's our window, Mara announced, forcing the engines beyond their recommended limits. The passage checks surged forward, leaving the confrontation behind as they raced toward the asteroid field. Brell monitored the sensors intently. Both ships have ceased fire. The patrol vessel appears to be withdrawing. Significant damage to their sensor array. But our mysterious friend is adjusting course to continue pursuit, though at reduced speed. They really want what's on this ship, Mara muttered. Computer, status of data transfer? Project Lazarus research data transfer 68% complete. Mara frowned. Not fast enough. They would reach the asteroid field soon, but their pursuer was determined and likely had more advanced sensor capabilities than the passage checks had countermeasures. We need to split up, she decided abruptly. Brell, prep the primary escape shuttle. You'll take the data chip once the transfer is complete. Brell's eyes narrowed. And what will you be doing? I'll stay with the ship, lead our pursuer on a chase through the asteroid field. Once you're clear, I'll try to lose them and rendezvous with you at Haven. A noble sacrifice, Ms. Hendris. But I suspect our pursuer is tracking the ship itself, not the data. The passage checks contains the only working prototype, does it not? Mara hesitated, then nodded. According to computer, yes. But the research data is far more valuable in the long run. Then perhaps I should remain with the ship while you take the data to safety, Brell suggested smoothly. After all, you're the one with the family connection to the research. You would better understand how to implement it. It was a reasonable argument, but Mara wasn't born yesterday. Nice try, but no. I'm the only one who can pilot this ship through the asteroid field with any chance of success. Brell sighed dramatically. Worth a shot. Very well. Your plan it is. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a chaotic mass of tumbling rocks, ranging from the size of a fist to small moons. Navigating through it would be treacherous under the best circumstances, and the passage checks was far from peak condition. Entering asteroid field in 30 seconds, computer announced. Warning, hull integrity compromised in sections 7 through 12. Collision risks elevated. Understood, Mara replied, her focus absolute as she guided the ship into the field. Brell, get to the shuttle and prepare for launch. Wait for my signal. Brell hesitated, then nodded. Don't take too long with that data transfer, Ms. Hendris. I doubt our pursuer will be deterred by a few rocks. As he left the bridge, Mara allowed herself a grim smile. Computer, once Brell is in the shuttle, lock it down. He doesn't launch until I say so. Acknowledged. The passage checks plunged into the asteroid field, the vibrations throughout the hull intensifying as Mara navigated through the floating debris. Their pursuer followed, keeping a cautious distance but clearly unwilling to give up the chase. Data transfer complete, computer announced. Project Lazarus research data successfully copied to personal storage device. Encrypt it with my biometric signature, Mara ordered, pulling the ship into a tight turn around a particularly large asteroid. And prepare the ship's self-destruct sequence. Authorization Hendris Alpha 7. Self-destruct sequence prepared. Final authorization required. Mara glanced at the view screen, where their pursuer was steadily closing the gap, effortlessly avoiding asteroids that the passage checks had barely managed to navigate around. Whatever or whoever controlled that ship, their technology was far beyond anything in consortium space. Computer, is there any indication they're trying to communicate? Negative. No conventional communication attempts detected. That was troubling. Most pursuers, even pirates, would attempt to hail their quarry, if only to demand surrender. This silent, relentless chase was unnerving. Time to try something different, Mara muttered. Computer, prepare to jettison escape pods 2 through 5, programmed to emit the same energy signature as the shuttle. Acknowledged. Escape pods ready. Launch pods in sequence, 30 seconds apart. Target different vectors within the asteroid field. As the decoy pods launched, Mara watched with satisfaction as their pursuer hesitated, clearly detecting multiple potential targets. It wouldn't fool them for long, but it might buy precious time. Now open a channel to Brell. The broker's face appeared on a small secondary screen, his expression impatient. Ms. Hendris, I do hope you're planning to release this shuttle soon. The air is getting rather stale. Change of plans, Mara replied. I'm transmitting coordinates for a rendezvous point. The passage checks isn't going to make it, but I will. Brell's eyes narrowed. What are you planning? The less you know, the better. Just be at those coordinates in 6 hours. She cut the communication before he could respond, and turned her attention back to piloting. Computer, status of pursuing vessel? Pursuing 2 of the decoy pods. Estimated time before they determine deception, 3 minutes. Just enough time. Mara guided the ship deeper into the asteroid field, seeking a particularly dense cluster. Computer, locate a suitable asteroid approximately 200 meters in diameter. Minimal rotation. Asteroid matching parameters located. Bearing 047, range 3.2 kilometers. Set course, Mara ordered, simultaneously retrieving the data chip with the Lazarus research. She tucked it securely into an inner pocket of her jacket, then pulled up the schematics for Cargo Bay 3. And prepare the stasis pod in Cargo Bay 3 for immediate use. The plan was risky, borderline suicidal, but it was the only way to ensure both the ship and its contents didn't fall into unknown hands. The passage checks had survived 117 years of abandonment. Its technology was too dangerous to risk capture. Approaching target asteroid. Computer announced. Pursuing vessel has determined deception and is returning to our position. Estimated intercept in 7 minutes. Plenty of time, Mara muttered, though her racing heart suggested otherwise. Extend landing gear and prepare for surface contact. The ship shuddered violently as Mara guided it to a gentle landing on the asteroid's surface. The low gravity made the process easier than a planetary landing, but the uneven terrain still posed challenges. Landing complete. Warning, pursuing vessel approaching rapidly. Computer, initiate Project Janus protocols, Mara commanded, already heading for the exit. Create a temporal distortion field around the ship's reactor. Warning, such action will accelerate relative time within the ship. 1 minute of external time will equate to approximately 12 hours of internal ship time. Perfect, Mara replied grimly. That should buy me plenty of time to reach the stasis pod before our friends arrive. Set self-destruct for 11 hours of internal ship time. Acknowledged. Temporal distortion field activated. Self-destruct sequence initiated. Mara felt a strange wave of disorientation as the temporal field engaged. The air seemed to thicken around her, and sounds became slightly distorted. She pushed through it, making her way rapidly toward Cargo Bay 3. If her plan worked, she would be safely away before the ship destroyed itself. From the outside observer's perspective, mere moments after the passage checks had landed, Cargo Bay 3 was exactly as computer had described, a sterile laboratory environment with a single stasis pod at its center. Beside it, a sealed container held what must be the Lazarus prototype treatment, a small vial of iridescent liquid. Mara approached the stasis pod, her movements feeling strangely sluggish within the temporal distortion field. Computer, prep the pod for immediate launch once I'm secure. Acknowledged. Pod launch sequence prepared. As Mara settled into the pod, she spared one last glance at the Lazarus treatment. A century of secrecy. Countless lives impacted by its concealment, all for a single vial that could change the course of human history. For a moment, she considered taking it with her, but quickly dismissed the thought. The research data was the true prize. It could be replicated given time and resources. The prototype was merely proof of concept. Computer, seal stasis pod and initiate launch sequence, she commanded, lying back as the pod systems engaged around her. Launch sequence initiated. Stasis field activating in 3, 2, 1. The world faded to gray, then black, as Mara's consciousness was suspended in the timeless void of stasis. Her last thought was a silent promise to her ancestors. Their legacy would not be forgotten, nor would it be misused. Whatever came next, she would ensure Project Lazarus served humanity rather than enslaved it. From the perspective of the pursuing vessel, events unfolded with bewildering speed. The ancient ship landed on an asteroid, then almost immediately launched what appeared to be a small escape pod. Before any action could be taken to intercept it, the passage checks erupted in a catastrophic explosion that scattered debris throughout the asteroid field, obscuring the pod's trajectory. By the time the dust settled, the pod was gone, its stasis field rendering it virtually undetectable to conventional sensors. The pursuing ship lingered in the asteroid field for several hours, methodically scanning the debris, before finally departing the system. Mara's consciousness returned slowly, the stasis pod gradually relinquishing its hold on her mind and body. Disorientation was normal after stasis, but this felt different, deeper, more profound. She blinked against the bright lights above her, trying to make sense of her surroundings. "Easy there," a gentle voice cautioned. "Stasis revival can be rough, especially after an unplanned ejection." Mara turned her head to see a woman in a medical uniform, not consortium standard, monitoring her vital signs. Beyond her, the room appeared to be a small but well-equipped medical bay. "Where am I?" Mara croaked, her throat dry from disuse. "Haven Station," the woman replied, offering a small cup of water. "Your pod's emergency beacon activated when it entered our security perimeter. You've been in recovery for about 6 hours. Haven." She'd made it to the rendezvous point. Mara struggled to sit up, suddenly anxious. "There was someone meeting me, a broker named Brell." The medic nodded. "Yes. He's been quite persistent about seeing you. I can call him now that you're awake, if you'd like." "Please," Mara replied, surreptitiously checking that the data chip was still secure in her inner pocket. To her relief, it was. Moments later, Brell swept into the room, his expensive clothes replaced with the more practical attire typical of Haven's residents. His relief at seeing her appeared genuine. "Ms. Hendress, I must say, your dramatic exit had me concerned. When I arrived and found no sign of either you or the passage checks, I feared the worst." "The ship is gone," Mara confirmed, her voice still rough. "Self-destructed to prevent capture." Brell's expression fell slightly. "A pity. It was a remarkable vessel. But I assume you salvaged what was most important." His eyes, flickered meaningfully to her jacket. Mara nodded slightly. Our agreement stands. The research data is mine, but you'll have licensing rights for commercial applications. Excellent, Brell's smile returned. Though I confess, I'm curious about our mysterious pursuer. Not consortium, obviously, but who would have both the technology and interest to chase an ancient ship so determinedly? I have theories, Mara replied cautiously. None of them comforting. Before Brell could press further, the door to the medical bay slid open to admit an older woman with steel-gray hair and the bearing of someone accustomed to command. Her eyes widened slightly at the sight of Mara. So it's true, she said quietly. A Hendris. After all these years? Mara tensed. Who are you? Dr. Alara Voss, the woman replied. I was a student of your grandfather's before the purge. I always suspected he had managed to hide his most important work, but after so many years... She trailed off, shaking her head in wonder. And now here you are. Brell looked between them with keen interest. I believe this is my cue to give you privacy. Ms. Hendris, we'll discuss our arrangement once you've recovered fully. With a slight bow, he left the room. Once he was gone, Dr. Voss moved closer to Mara's bedside. You have it, don't you? The Lazarus research? Mara hesitated, then nodded. Yes, though the prototype was lost with the ship. The prototype can be recreated, Voss waved dismissively. It's the research that matters. Your grandfather was brilliant, decades ahead of his contemporaries. If his work can be completed, it would change everything, Mara finished. That's what I'm afraid of. The consortium would kill to control this technology, and whoever was in that unknown ship seemed equally determined to acquire it. Voss's expression grew serious. There have been rumors for years about ships at the edge of our space. Some believe they're studying us, particularly our medical technology. If they were pursuing the passage check specifically, then they somehow knew what it contained, Mara concluded grimly. Which means there's a leak somewhere, or they have sources of information we can't begin to comprehend. All the more reason to proceed cautiously. Voss agreed. Haven can provide security and resources, but we'll need a team of trusted researchers to fully realize the potential of your grandfather's work. Mara considered this. Haven was known as a refuge for those who valued independence from the consortium. Scientists, engineers, and others whose work pushed boundaries the authorities found uncomfortable. If there was anywhere she could safely develop the Lazarus technology, this was it. I want oversight, she said finally. No single person or group should control this technology. We form a council, with representatives from different disciplines and backgrounds. Voss nodded approvingly. The Lazarus Council. It has a certain ring to it. And you? What role do you see for yourself in all this? Mara hadn't thought that far ahead. She was a mechanic, not a scientist or a leader, but she had her grandfather's journal, the genetic key that had unlocked the ship, and a lifetime of fixing what others deemed broken. I'll be the bridge, she decided. Between the past and the future, my family created this technology, but it belongs to humanity. I'll make sure it's used as it was intended, to heal, not to control. Over the following weeks, as she recovered and the Lazarus Council took shape, Mara often found herself gazing out at the stars from Haven's observation deck. Somewhere out there, unknown vessels continued their silent observation of human space. Somewhere, the consortium hunted for the technology that had slipped through their fingers yet again. And here, in this sanctuary of free minds, her ancestors' legacy was finally being realized. Not immortality. They had been wise enough to see the folly in that, but a chance for humanity to grow beyond the artificial constraints of a too brief lifespan. A chance to build, to learn, to evolve with the perspective that only centuries of experience could provide. We're just getting started, Mara whispered to the distant stars. And I have a feeling our adventure is far from over. As if in answer, a barely perceptible vibration ran through the station. The quantum fold reactor technology, adapted from the passage checks, and now powering Haven's defenses, creating its own subtle temporal bubble around the station. Time would pass differently here than in the rest of human space, giving them the precious resource they needed most: time to prepare for whatever came next. Mara smiled, feeling the weight of the data chip in her pocket. Not a burden, but a promise. Her grandfather's final entry in his journal now made perfect sense. Time is the ultimate resource and the ultimate teacher. Use it wisely, for in the end, it is not how long we live that matters, but how well we use the time given to us. She intended to use it very well indeed.